Hello. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
It's great. Good to have you here, Pravesh, Eric, and Fib as well. Welcome to the Fireside Chat with Totalis.
Yeah, awesome
Before
to be.
we, great to have you. Before we jump into it, I still want to do a couple of small intros for yourselves. Pravesh, you're on leave from Waterloo, of course, because you guys have raised from Y Combinator and gotten into the Y Combinator or YC. Eric as well is from Waterloo and spent the summer recently at Coinbase. So thank you so much for coming in with us today. We do have a little bit of maybe wind noise, I think. So Pravesh, if you don't mind, we'll probably mute you unless you're talking. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Wonderful background, though. I love the ferns growing out of the concrete. I feel like that's symbolic. I am Simon. I'm the lead of Super Team Canada, and with me is Fib. Fib, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Fib. I lead BD for Super Team Canada. Currently helping to support on the Frontier Coliseum competition programming, and I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, good to have you. And we are doing a whole bunch of workshops for the Coliseum Startup Competition. Obviously, we run Super Team Canada, which is a founder support system for founders building in the Canadian atmosphere and the world. And we're going to be doing a bunch of education and workshops for people who want to learn and build a product or a company. Let's get into it right away. I think we have quite a bit to cover over this hour. And if you don't mind, Pravesh, we will start off with you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background and maybe kind of jump into your association with the Ignition program at Waterloo and what you kind of learned there and all the hackathons that you've done in the past?
Yeah, thanks for having us. First of all, it's wonderful to always chat with you, Simon and Fibonacci. I'm Pravesh. I'm one of the co-founders at Totalis. We are building parlays for prediction markets where you can make parlays on anything basically, and we and you asked me a question about Ignition program at Waterloo. So I was like the vice president of Waterloo blockchain, and I used to lead the Ignition program where like I used to welcome in the first and second years that are coming in, and then give them like more room to grow into like a leadership role for like leading the club or like doing partnerships, sponsorships, in the sense like going to hackathons, like talking to industry professionals, getting internships at like big places where like people, it's like hard to get into, and then like you can like walk your way into those internships. So like just giving them more leeway, like telling them like some tips and tricks, and kind of like setting up like a strong foundation for them to kind of have like a good successful career in like Web3. So that was like the small 2 cents.
Yeah. Can I just jump into that a bit before we get to Eric? How much of that experience has helped you in the past few months kind of growing Totalis?
No, it has actually helped me a lot because like in like while running the club we had like such a good experience of like real world of like, okay, like you have to talk to so many companies, you have to talk and like maintain relationships, you already have pre-existing relationships, so that compound in the sense like I think like Simon, we both like met like a couple of years ago. Like I was doing like Coliseum hackathon, and then like you were giving me like mentorship on like, okay, like how should I like go to market with this product, like how should I market it, and then like that like over and over, like then I think I was building around something with prediction markets, and then like a year later, like now we are here, and like I'm trying to build like a startup around it. So it's just like those things just like snowball slowly. It's like if you keep at it. So um like those things really just like double down. So I think it was like super helpful with the foundation.
Yeah, that's great. Eric, you kind of want to go into your history and your past a little bit. I know you're from Waterloo. You went and did some time at Coinbase. You probably had a lot of other opportunities available to you as a kind of up and coming founder and a student. What made you decide to not, fly down to SF like most people at Waterloo do and just start your own company with Pravesh?
Yeah. Also, yeah. Thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, always fun to chat with the Super Team team. Um, Yeah, I joined Waterloo a bit earlier. So I started school in 2020, and over the years, I just explored all kinds of different co-ops, different jobs in different industries, and I just found that this Web3 crypto community is the one that I resonate with the most, which is why on my last co-op, um, I joined Coinbase to kind of see like how they run their whole ecosystem. I got to know more about internally how they think about designing DeFi apps and like social platforms that can just really let as many users to be engaged as possible. And then I really wanted to translate that into my own startup. So when Pravesh, he actually invited me to join this idea on building on prediction markets, and I thought it's like the perfect opportunity um, to kind of both build a very engaging product, and then also to like leverage like the social aspect, and yeah, get everyone using our product.
Yeah, we'll jump into Totalis in depth pretty soon. I just want you to both kind of speak to some students who are listening in first year and second year. You've both done quite a bit of traveling to various conferences and attending a bunch of different hackathons. Can you talk to me about your most memorable experience? Maybe at Denver. I think maybe some of you went down to Buenos Aires recently. What is that experience like as a student, and do you have anybody to kind of thank for providing those opportunities to you, and how do people get involved if they're interested in that kind of thing?
Yeah,
this would be good. Pravesh or Eric, whichever one you think has the better story from your travels.
We'll just go like one by one.
Yeah. I think for me, definitely Eatable Buenos Aires. That was the most fun hackathon I did. And I think Waterloo blockchain, just if you're in Waterloo, you should join Waterloo blockchain. Like they give you so many opportunities to go to different hackathons, different conferences. And I joined in the beginning of 2025. So a bit after Pravesh joined. And by then they have already did a lot of like, I heard like they were in Singapore and Thailand. So like I guess like looking at the club from the outside, it always seemed like, yeah, it's like so much fun. They're just traveling and doing hackathons. And then after I joined, it's like exactly how I expected of, the community, just like finding sponsorships and going to different events and having fun. Yeah.
I have like a bit of different story. I think the most fun conference that I've been to was like Breakpoint Singapore. Where like we there was like also a F1 race. There was like token, I think 2049, and there was like everything like wrapped around like in that week, and we got the opportunity to go there, and then it was like super helpful where like we actually saw like there are so many students coming in, there are like so many like industry professionals, because it's sort of a cheat code. Like if you go to any of these conferences, you literally see like billion-dollar CEOs just like walking at a conference taking coffee or just like talking to regular people, and you're like, it's so accessible in the sense like the best thing about Web3 is that you can meet all these founders, all these people, like just like at these conferences, like there's no gatekeeping of them, in the sense if they're like billing around in regular Web2, it's like so hard to get a hold of them, or like they're like sort of in their own niches. But if I'm going to a conference, it's like pretty easy to kind of just like talk with them, like meet with them in person. It's just like it builds like the relationship there, and it's sort of like a small trust factor too. But I think the most fun things that have happened is like at conferences, like I feel like every conference I go to is like a level up of my skill of like, okay, like so many people I've met this conference, I can just like talk to them and then like ask them and reach them out for advice. I think the most thankful I am for Fahim. Like Fahim was the person who actually like led the foundation for Waterloo blockchain, and he I saw him, I think it was like a 4 or 5 people club, Waterloo blockchain, and then he started basically saying, oh, we need to go to hackathons, and then he actually pulled me into like Eat Denver, and he was like, oh, you need to come to Eat Denver, and because like it's going to be the biggest thing. And I was like, okay, I don't know what it is. They sponsored my flights, so I was like, okay, I'll just like pull up because it's subsidized, so like I don't want to pay out of my pocket. But then actually after that, I was like, yeah, I'm like willing to pay my own money even if I have to come to this conference, because it's so worth it. So I think as a student, if you're like more associated like bodies like Super Team Canada, some sort of a small community where you have like access to like all these opportunities before anyone else, that's like such a like unfair advantage over anything else.
Yeah, I just saw both of you a couple of days ago in Miami. So shout out to Solana Accelerate and Super Team USA for hosting a bunch of events there. Just to kind of keep it topical, did you meet anybody cool while down there the past couple of days at Consensus Miami or Accelerate? Any like good opportunities that came out of that? Like, can you have like a tangible, win that came out of that experience?
Yeah, I think we just went to Solana Consumer Day, and yeah, I think that conference it's exactly kind of in the field that we're targeting. So it's really cool to meet the other founders and companies in that space. There's a lot more of other like prediction market companies. Like I think one of them called Worm. It's like leverage trading on prediction market. Like that's a super cool product. And it's just really cool to talk to the founders that are building that. That's for me. Yeah.
Just tangible advice wise, I think like I think because I was a speaker and like we got access, like I literally met Dan from DFlow, all these like co-founders and CEOs, all these like I think I met the CEO of Dune too. It's like all these like big people. I'm like I could have never like met them like in my life, just like because I was in the room and I was like talking, and then I was like, so I use your product like literally every day, like I need to like talk to you. And then it was super helpful. And then we also like once you presented, like a lot of people came up and asked questions. As Eric mentioned, I think there was like few prediction market companies already in the batch or like already like talking around. So like we had a chat with them. We never reached out because we were like, oh, like I think it's like we would have never like preemptively reached out, but it's just like we met them. So it's like now we have a connection. We have group chat set up. We just like chat regularly. So it's like all this stuff. So it's like super helpful just to like get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's so much value that can be had, and I feel like you get out a lot more or as much as you put into it, and I think that that's the best approach for conferences. Before we jump into the product, before Fib brings us to why parlays, just one last question about your life in the past few months. Things that must have been moving pretty fast for you guys. We can go through the timeline if you want to, but what do your colleagues, your parents, your siblings, or your friends kind of think about what you guys have been going through the past few months?
Pravesh, I think you have a cool story on your parents.
Yeah, I think my parents still think I'm gonna go back to school and then like finish my degree, because like every time I talk with them and I tell them like, hey, we raised this money, and then they're like, oh, why are these people giving you money? Like, what are you gonna like? They're gonna ask you for the money back, and then like they're like, she got so scared and she was like, oh, you need to return that money like ASAP, and then it's like you should not do that, and I'm like, no, it's like it's a venture startup, like you have to like raise capital to like build us like, and then I was explaining her like the whole power law and stuff, so it's like crazy. She was actually like educating in real time, so it was super funny to see that story. I think my parents still don't really understand what I'm doing, but it's just like they support me in the sense like, yeah, I think like we believe in what you're doing, so it's just like you talk about it all the time, so I think you'll be able to figure that shit out. But that's like one of the funny stories. And because like I was supposed to do an internship in the Bay Area, and I decided to like drop that internship like literally 5 days before starting, and and they didn't ask me a question. They're like, okay, like if you think it's the right move, like, so they're super supporting all the time. But it was kind of also a shocker for them, saying like, because I grew up in India, then I moved to Canada for my undergrad, so it was sort of they're expecting me to do more traditional route of like, yeah, he'll just study and then like he'll probably do a big tech job and then like do it for 10 years and then see what happens. But they were like pretty shocked like on what trajectory I chose to pick up. But yeah, it was kind of funny to see.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like Pravesh has like much interesting story, but I'm really grateful for my family that they're always like supportive. And I think it's just because I've been like kind of side questing for the past 2 years. Like I was either like traveling or doing different internships in different cities. So like my friends and family weren't that like shocked, I guess, that I'm just like doing YC now. It seems like it's just like a pretty like normal move for Eric to just do a different thing every 4 months. But yeah.
Wait, to add on to that, I think like because it was not a big shocker because I have already gone to like so many conferences, and literally because of crypto conferences, it's like every other month. Like you're like on to different city. Like you're like, I'm in Bangkok right now. I'm in Thailand. Sorry, I'm in like Argentina, Singapore, and they're like what is this guy doing? Like, is he working or they're just like traveling for fun? Is it like they it's like hard to comprehend, so they're just like given up at this point. They're like, yeah, you know best.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great story. I'm sure they're both very proud of you though now, and I think probably seeing you on stage in Miami really kind of solidified that. Fib, we'll transition to you. 1 second. What's your next conference you're excited to look forward to there, Pravesh and Eric? One word answer.
Breakpoint.
We might go to Breakpoint. I was gonna say like ETHConf, but no, Breakpoint. Yeah.
Breakpoint.
We'll take it. Okay, Fib, let's dive into the product.
Okay, the product. Before we dive into that, I'll just say when I decided to be an entrepreneur and work for no money, my parents were appalled, and it took some time to definitely adjust them to that idea. And so being in YC so young and raising in stablecoins is such a great opportunity. And that's very cool. So congratulations again. I'll go into the product. So firstly, the tagline is parlays on anything. So can we step back for those who maybe aren't familiar with Totalis and just sort of get into what does that actually mean? What does Totalis do for me as a trader that I can't necessarily do on Polymarket?
Yeah. So on Totalis, the platform where it's specifically built to place parlays for prediction markets. So say on Polymarket right now, you can trade on the outcome of any single event, which is really cool already. But there's currently no way to trade on like the causality or the correlation between those events. And that's something that, parlays unlock. So for those of you who don't know, like for a parlay trade, you combine individual events together and you have to successfully predict all of the outcomes of those events correctly to get like a bigger payout. So in this sense, the price of that parlay for all of those happening is just the joint probability of those events happening, right? So it's kind of the way to calculate the correlation between those events. So this is what we allow users to do on our platform.
In a nutshell, like make it very simple, it's just like if a user with unlock of prediction markets, they started thinking like sequential order of like, okay, like if I know Trump's gonna win the elections, what are the next 3 things that might happen? Like oil prices might surge, inflation might go up, DSA check-ins, or like Bitcoin prices might rally. So I'm basically making like those bets together into a single bet, and I'm doing in a very capital efficient way. So like whenever so I am putting less capital for my and then I'm getting like more returns for it. So that's what we wanted to unlock with parlays, and that's like super retail product, and that's the idea.
Very cool. And Pravesh, you already shipped a product at ETH Denver, and right now Totalis is like a derivative layer on top of Polymarket. Can you talk to me about how you ended up deciding to go that route as opposed to, say, competing with a prediction market head on?
That's a really good question, actually, because back in ETH Denver, I built the whole prediction market because I wanted to build my own platform where basically any like if like there's like few people in the room, let's suppose like 4 of us, and we want to make like a wager where like, oh, like how many times I'm gonna speak to Totalis in this room, and then we basically bet on that, and then like it's just 4 of us, it's like a private room, and then we can launch as many prediction markets as possible. And then I was like using that as a tool for like making it in the iMessages, Telegram group chat, and everybody's making a wager. But then I decided to stop because it was like super hard problem, like the resolution and everything else. I started like doubling down, and then I sort of gave up for like a good a month or two, and then like during the summer I was like, yeah, I should do something better with my life. I'm like not moving or making that progress. But I think that was like a really good time because I was not building the product, but I was just like learning about okay, how AMMs work, how like which like is like order book better, is RFQs better, like what is the best way to kind of like make that thing possible. So I think that was just like my learning phase of like okay, like how does this industry work, who are the people that I should like listen to and like understand from. And that really set up like a good knowledge curve for me. And then like once like prediction market started booming, then I saw like a lot of gaps or like edges in the market. Then we were like, okay, like what we can build products around it, because like we are builders, we are building around it. So we built like a small borrowing and lending protocol at uh, ETH Global Buenos Aires, and me and Eric, we were both in the team. I think there was Conrad and Zian, like from Waterloo Blockchain, and we ended up. And there was like a company that was doing very similar stuff, and they raised like a round, and we were like, okay, like there is actually companies that are like building products and they're raising capital for like building this full time, and this could be like a really big industry in the sense because it's just like a kickstart, like it has just like kickstarted right now. So in the next 10 years, it's like everybody's going to talk about, oh yeah, prediction markets, like yeah, it's like just another primitive I can use. And so we started doing that, and so that's why we took like this bet, and we were like, okay, we need to like go all in and kind of like figure out like which direction to go for. So like we pivoted a little bit, like we talked with a lot of users, understood their problem of like yeah, we want to provide capital efficiency. If leverage is not the way to do it, like how can we do that? And then like we figured and ended up on parlays.
That makes sense. Jumping to Eric, I know you had some experience at Coinbase. How did that help shape your journey with Totalis, and how has it showed up in the product?
Yeah, last summer I was at Coinbase doing data engineering and data science for. So I touched on like multiple products from their internal, like how they use AI to compute metrics and do data analysis, to building out the base app, which they launched I think last summer for beta access. So I think the most relevant experience is probably building out the base app, because you get to see what kind of metrics they care about for a social media platform. um, so it's really cool to see like all the social features that they're adding, and that kind of gave us a lot of ideas on how we can make like our parlay product and also like very sociable, very engaging for the users to use.
Yeah, that's super cool. That experience, I can imagine, was like, I don't know. I feel like if you go from having a internship at Coinbase to starting a company, I would almost expect your parents to be more surprised that you shifted, but it sounds like you like to jump around a lot. So can I ask if there were any other experiences in your past that kind of shaped Totalis and the product and your journey?
Yeah, I mean, throughout my college years, like every single co-op I did was in a different industry, kind of doing a different job. So I worked in like law firms, I worked in like e-commerce stores, like banks. So I was just kind of just like exploring around a lot. So I think having like more like breadth over depth knowledge, it helps, when a new industry comes like prediction markets, it's a lot easier for me to kind of jump in and then learn as fast as I can. But then like specifically for parlays, I think it's mostly, working with like DeFi projects through doing hackathons, like actively being present in the Waterloo Blockchain Club, hanging out with the members, and then this like Coinbase internship that taught me a lot about, yeah, like how do you run a Web3 company basically. And yeah, we actually met Brian Armstrong like just a couple of days ago. He came to YC to give a talk. So yeah, that's also a very helpful talk.
That's super cool. Something that I've been curious about is, other competitors who have tried parlays but kind of flopped. Where do you think you have an edge compared to them?
Yeah, I think like parlays for prediction markets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the key part here and the pain points we're seeing from Kalshi side, because parlay market doesn't have any parlays and Kalshi only has combos for sports. The problem we're seeing is that on the market making side, it's very capital inefficient for them to be the counterparty for this parlay trade. Because when you think about it, people want and they like long tail events, meaning situations that are like less likely to happen. So if there's like a 1% chance of these combination events happening, and the user places like $100 bet on the counterparty side, they have to put in $10,000 and lock that collateral until the entire trade resolves, which could range from a few hours to a few days to a few weeks. So when that's the case, market makers are a lot less incentivized to lock such large amounts of capital for a small amount of profit. So these are problems that we're actively solving on our platform.
Very cool. And this might be slightly more of a touchy question, but a couple days ago there was a story published about campaign staffers like printing money on Polymarket. Do you think parlays amplify that? And where do you draw the line between like just letting users be users, or maybe looking into screening users, or like having some sort of hand in letting that happen, or sort of like being completely like decentralized and what happens and it's not for us to manage?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, because we're like still figuring it out, honestly. Like we're also like seeing the stories like uncover in real time. Kalshi has taken really good measures. Polymarket is taking measures to kind of like prevent insider trading. Like they're starting with KYCs and stuff. We are also like looking into options, like it could be potential KYC. It could be like if you make like a trade more than like X amount, then you potentially need to do KYC, because it's like if you have so much conviction, like we need to know who you are like before making that trade. So we're still like figuring out like what is the best way forward. We currently don't have KYC on our platform, and we are looking into like potential options of like, okay, how can we prevent that? Because with blockchains, the best thing is that you can track the user's wallet, in the sense like, okay, like this user made this big of a trade and that resulted in like this big of a winning. That means they know something, and then you can trace back that money of like, okay, like where did this money come from? And that's the best part about blockchain, because it's super traceable. Like I can see literally like all the traces to like, oh, this was the wallet, this is where the on ramp happened, and then somebody might have done the KYC to actually like provide them the money with, or like when they were buying crypto or selling crypto. So it's like most likely you can like kind of get them caught there. But that's the few potential solutions we're looking into. But currently we're also seeing like how industry takes the first step. We don't want to be like the inventor of like, oh, this is the idea that we're gonna go for. Like if there is like a good method that people figure out, then we're happy to kind of implement that and then go from there.
Yeah, I think there's also a difference between like just having insider information and like actively manipulating the market. Because for prediction markets, the whole purpose is to get the most realistic probability of certain events happening, right? So if you have like some sort of info that can lead to a more accurate pricing, then you should be allowed to make profit from that. And that's different from active market manipulation, where you can directly influence the results of how that market settles. So there's also like that, or like if you're actively market manipulating, then it's definitely a must ban. But if you have the information that can give that market a more accurate probability, then I think it should be allowed to be traded.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's pretty tough because we're in a space where we started with an entire ethos of decentralization. And, for me, when KYC came in, it was kind of jarring. Like it felt very anti-decentralization. And, in some ways, like there are pros and cons to that. I'm not against like AML, ATF, practices, but yeah, it's a really tough decision to make. And if there's a way to do that more so with like data patterns, for example, as opposed to having to regulate and predict who is going to cross the line, I think that would be super cool. However, I've spent a long time on this section, so I'm going to pass it back to Simon to continue chatting with you about your journey.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys are in SF right now. You guys just met, Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. Before that, you're in Miami. I know you guys have been doing a bunch of travel. In the past, it's May, so the past 4 or 5 months for you must have been pretty intense. Can we work backwards a little bit? I give a lot of advice to potential founders or aspiring founders. At what point were you guys in a room together and said, "Hey, we should pitch this to YC"? Like, I know, Pravesh, you were experimenting with a bunch of stuff last year and for years. We've known each other for years through like the Solana Toronto community and some activations we've done at Waterloo. How did you guys kind of like actually go to the submit button? Have you submitted to YC before? Why was that the goal and the target? Like, what's your like pipeline there as a founder?
Actually, it's like we have like a anomaly story as compared to like regular people who apply through YC, in the sense like they have to go through applications and everything else. We actually just like stumbled upon an event. There was like a small event where I met like our partner Andrew and like Harshita, where they were hosting like how can people build companies, and we were already building this company, and then we were like in SF, and then like heads on building the company, and we were like, okay, you know what, we can just chat to them and say like we are building this, and then like I went up to them, talked with them, and then they were like they liked the idea, so and then they liked us both as founders, and they were like, okay, you know what, you should apply to YC. And then I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then they're like, yeah, you should apply to YC. And then because I was asking a bunch of questions, okay, like if I want to apply, like how would that happen? And then I applied, and the next day I got an interview. So it was like, for me, it was sort of like I had some certainty that we are gonna get an interview, because like I had already like chatted up with the person. So that's like another hack that I'm telling about. It's like you should go to those events or like go to those like conferences and meet them IRL. It can like fast track the process so much, in the sense like you'll have to like not go through like the same process as everyone else is going, and that gives you like a small competitive advantage, so you can move fast. In the sense, if I'm building a company and I have to like go through like all that process and like think about like will I get into or not, that's like kind of hard. So we had some certainty that we will at least get an interview, and that after that it was just like on us, that like if they like the product more and then everything else. So from there it was just a smooth sailing ride.
Yeah, I think I can give like a bigger backstory of how we even ended up at that event, because like one thing I think, if you're trying to like join any of the big accelerators like YC or like Pair or ACZ, something like that, I think being in San Francisco just physically helps a lot. But yeah, like from, I guess, since late November last year, Pravesh and I had been working on like different ideas in prediction market space, but this is all like async, because I was in SF at the time, he was in Waterloo, so it's all like us just working kind of part-time as we completed our school and co-ops. And I think it's up until early January that we're like, okay, we should take this more seriously and see if we can actually make something happen out of this project. And I think that's when we started to talking to a few like investors that are more in the prediction market space, and then we ended up getting like our first, I guess, like angel check, and that was enough motivation for us to be like, okay, let's drop just everything we're doing now. Let's all just fly to SF and start working on it. And I think it's this like big conviction bet on like, okay, we have to fly to SF right now to start working on this. That helped us to get like going to events in SF and getting these interviews at these accelerators, and ultimately like ended up in YC.
I think it's also about the momentum, in the sense like we got the first check, and then we went to an event, and then they liked us and they gave us an offer. So it's like we had like few offers at the time, like we were like looking into like which ones like are the best ones. So it's like helps with the leverage and of like, yeah, I have offers, like we really don't like need, like why should we take the money? Like it's sort of like the other way around of like we like, rather than interviewing us, like we are interviewing them of like, okay, like how can you be our best partners to like make this possible. And it's sort of like a small cheat code that like helps like a long way, in the sense you can skip a lot of lines in that way.
Yeah, that's great. IRL is the alpha. Going to conferences just kind of gets you ahead. Totally agree. What's the biggest difference between like the view from the outside of YC and your kind of experiences going through the first few months there?
I think mostly it's held up to the expectations. I think they're like, we weren't exactly sure like what kind of events like YC would be letting us do. But I think like being in YC, it's like half of it is kind of doing office hours with the partners, and the other half is like listening to other CEOs talk, and then just like mingling with the other founders in the batch. And I think like the other part, like listening to talks from other CEOs and just connecting with the other founders in the batch, have helped a lot more, because we're able to see kind of like a lot of alphas in different industries, and how everyone's doing, how they are acquiring their customers and doing their sales strategy and everything. So that's been like the most helpful part for me.
The founder network, I think, is like the most helpful, in the sense like if you join the YC batch, like there's like so many alumni already existing that have access to and they're like building like $1 billion companies. So in the sense, like I am just like one or two connections away from just like reaching out to them, or like kind of talking to them. And they also like come to YC often, so like you can just like chat with them in person. As we mentioned, like Brian came in, Coinbase, CEO of Coinbase, and we also met Tarek, CEO of Kalshi, the other day. And then he also came in, and we had like a small one-on-one chat with him. And then like these small things just like help you get so much clarity, because if you're listening straight from the CEO, like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do next, it's just like, okay, that's like I believe in the mission now more than like actually just like listening to like the media press and everything else. Because like as like that boils down the mission a little bit. So just like if you straight listening from the person who's actually going to do it, it's just like super helpful to like make any conviction bets more and double down on that.
I got one more question before handing it over to Fib. In one sentence, why does Waterloo have the reputation of producing such high quality cracked founders and developers?
I think similar to like the founder community YC, like Waterloo also has its own community, and it amplifies like the startup culture, and it just encourages students to explore, doing their own projects, starting their own startup. So I think if I wasn't in studying Waterloo, I definitely would not have started the startup.
No, I think just to touch upon Eric's point, there's like schools in Canada where like we were trying to like hire our like first engineer, and we had to like go through like so much hurdles, just like letting the advisor know like, oh, it's a startup. Like first of all, like we had to like explain to them like what YC was, like how startups work, and then like it's not gonna be a scammy thing that like they're just doing it for credit and just like joining the company for. So it's like so hard, because like they're like just like so far behind in the gap of like, okay, like what the real meta is happening in the world right now, in the sense of I can just go to startups, I can work there. I think Waterloo has like a good co-op community where like every 4 months or like 8 months you're just going to real world and then like working there and then coming back. So like you have like you're in tune with reality of like what's happening on ground and what's happening on theoretically that I'm studying every day. So every day every person is like, even if so they have, that's why they take like these crazy conviction bets, because they're like, oh, I've worked here, I have idea about what to do next. So I think like the community that it creates is like super good, because they're just like thinking in a different way. They're like, yeah, I know a person, he was like in first year and then he just dropped out because he was like, yeah, like what I'm gonna do next week, I'm just gonna fly to SF and meet with like 10 investors just because I'm like so passionate about my startup. I was like, hell yeah, go for it. Like in the sense like everybody like encourages that behavior rather than saying like, what are you doing, it's stupid, like you should not like do that and you're like wasting your life. So it's just like very encouraging with like taking high risks.
I think the one sentence answer is Waterloo just produces people that are in tune with reality. That was a good one, Pravesh. Fib, why Solana?
Yes, why Solana? Pravesh, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. A ton of your background is like Ethereum, with some pretty big Ethereum teams. What was the process like in terms of deciding to build Totalis on Solana? How did you make that decision?
I think it was a pretty simple one, honestly. I think I think I have like a very cross background of like I've worked at like few big Ethereum teams, and then I worked at like a small startup named Easy Labs, and they were like in the Solana incubator at that time. And I was like their first intern, and then I was like got to like be part of that team and see them like scaling up the team. And it was actually super helpful. I think that's like the most transformative like internship that I've ever done, because it's like at the time I felt like I was doing like nothing, and I was just like, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm just like waking up every day, like, and then like companies moving slowly in hindsight. But then I realized that like I learned so many lessons of like how to start a company, like how to deal with like situations, how to raise capital and stuff like that, and that was like super helpful actually. And why I built on Solana, because I saw what you can do, and then like the mission aligns so much in the sense, if I want to talk to anyone from like Ethereum Foundation, like there is no like local super teams, there is no like person I can reach out to like Ethereum Foundations like so far, that you need to like have some connections or like people you know that you want to reach out to. So I think the community aspect like really like makes and breaks the difference. Like if and also like finance is moving on chain. Like the CEO of Solana said that, and then we were like, co-founder of Solana said that, and we were like, we really believe in that mission, because we are trying to like make that step, like make it like one step closer to that. So we really want to be part of that like long journey of like, yeah, everything is going to move on chain, and we are going to build parlays and prediction markets on chain using Solana.
Yeah, I think to touch on Professor's point, like I think literally Super Team Canada, like you guys are so good at just getting the ecosystem going, like especially in Canada, that I think my first event that I organized when I was in Waterloo Blockchain was the Super Team event, like Waterloo Super Team, and then Simon, you were there. So I think like events like that, like the way you guys are like sponsoring different things and just getting everyone to try to actively participate, like this is what we need to push the ecosystem forward. And like I feel like you guys are like the Solana ecosystem's doing the best in that.
It's very ground up.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you, guys.
I hope that you cannot hear. Someone decided to just like put a chainsaw to metal or something outside my window, so I apologize if you can hear that. Unbelievable. I have one more question before I pass it back to Simon, which is, what is broken or missing on Solana right now that you wish someone would just go build immediately because it would unblock you or just make your life so much easier?
That's a good question. Pravesh, do you know anything particular?
I'm like trying to think, like that's very hard to like kind of point out. I think Solana has like proven the testament of like, because there's been so much volume and it hasn't like broken down. It has like few cons where like sometimes like in the last couple of years, like it was like there were like some issues that like but like those have been resolved over time. And so I think like the feedback loop is like pretty quick, in the sense like if there is anything, at least I know like it's going to be fixed like in the coming thing, or like it's going to be, there's like at least teams actively working to fix it, rather than like relying on like some entity to kind of like hopefully fix it and like listen to my requests. So I think like that believe that, okay, like if even
Oh, we lost
I think
your
you're muted.
audio.
I think you might have muted yourself by accident. There you go. Nope, you're not back yet.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Got you.
Okay, sorry. Where did I cut off?
Just 5 seconds ago.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. So just TLDR is that like the belief in the chain is like a lot more, in the sense like right now I don't think we have like any specific issues or like we haven't ran into it, but also like we are like not pre-scale, like we are like once we reach scale, like we might see some issues. So we will like let like Solana Foundation and everyone else like know like what those feedbacks are. But like knowing that like your feedbacks would be listened, and then like they would actually be like taken care of, and then they'll actually like be fixed. That's like super helpful. So that's why like we're more bullish, because there's so many teams and there's like so many smart people like working on Solana right now. It's actually insane. So we're like pretty bullish on it.
Me too. Me too.
Me three.
Simon?
So you guys received $500,000 USDC on Solana as part of the raise. Can you, like, that's the first YC company to do this. Can you walk us through how that conversation started? And like, how did you guys organize that logistically? Like, was there a lot of interest internally as to like kind of executing on this?
Yeah, I think we just saw YC. They made the announcement that they'll be able to invest in stablecoins. I think in February, and then we're like, yeah, that's literally what we need, because I think with now how the stablecoin adoption has became, like with bigger banks, where it's very easy for us to hold stablecoins and then still be able to do all the fiat payments, and it's like free off ramp. So right now we're using the Ramp stablecoin account, and we can just pay our like credit cards, vendors, whatever, like regularly, and then they will do like the off ramp for us. So it's like super simple on our end, and then we also get like the added benefit of having like USDC on Solana. Like we can directly pay anyone with crypto and then use it for like our operating, like paying gas and all that. So I think it makes a lot of sense for us. And the process to get YC, like YC announced they're gonna do it, but then when we actually asked about it, they were actually like, oh, like we're not prepared, like we haven't done this before. So it took them like a few weeks to like get everything sorted out and actually like give us the money. Yeah.
I mean, that just makes so much sense to me. It's instantaneously happening. It's not an ACH. It's not a wire. You guys can function as a business with like Ramp as your treasury. You can make all your payments. Why wouldn't somebody do this? I assume a lot of companies are going to be doing this going forward as well.
So I think one of the things that we wanted to do was that that we thought was like sort of injustice, like if we didn't take money in stablecoins, because we were like, oh, we are literally building on chain. Like we have a on chain treasury, we will buy stablecoins, so we will like have Solana on chain. So like might as well just like take the money in stablecoins. It's also like a symbolic gesture that like, yeah, we are like pro crypto, and we don't want to like shy away from that. And I think after seeing us, there's a lot of companies in the batch that are like preemptively like taking and reaching out to us and asking questions about like how can we do the same, and then like we want to do the same process, and they're like just figuring out like the bank structure and everything else. So I think you're going to see a lot more teams taking stablecoins moving forward as like their form of payment. So
yeah, especially like YC, they're trying to take more fintech companies too, and like the whole like stablecoin agentic payment, agentic commerce trend is like ramping up now. Like we'll definitely see a lot more companies taking the investment in stablecoins.
Yeah.
And Solana, I think, also launched pay.sh, pay.shish. So that was also like another like step forward for like agentic payments. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like everything that you can think of, okay, like this is the next thing gonna happen, like it comes out, and then like everybody's trying to build that on chain.
Absolutely. I mean, Solana is like absolutely the future of the financial rails globally, in, of course, my biased opinion. I'm going to switch real quick to the hackathon, and speaking of so many teams building, things are coming out. There are thousands of teams building around the world right now for Coliseum Frontier competition, and there's like 48 hours left to submission. What advice would you give to builders that are so close? Maybe they're like 90% through building the product, and they've got 48 hours to submit. Do you have any advice for the next 48 hours and, the 48 hours after that?
Just ship it. Just ship it. Just ship it. Like don't overthink. Because I think like what we've seen is like all the majority of the product comes to fruition in the last 48 hours. So this is like sort of make or break. Like either like before this, you're just like, yeah, I'll build this. Like you have docs, you're like brainstorming the ideas, you're like doing social media and stuff. And then like after this, like, oh, now actually build the product to kind of submit for the hackathon. And then I would just say like, yeah, okay, then submit the project. I think it's because you have nothing to lose in the sense like like if you even submit the project, like if you don't win, it's not like changing like outcome of your life or like trajectory of your life. But if you win, like it's an asymmetric bet in the sense you might be able to kind of like bake that into a startup and then get like funding from Coliseum, like to 50K or something, and then you can like move that project to like the next level. So it's like there's like nothing to lose. So like why would you not do it? It's just like a simple question there.
Yeah, totally agree with Pravesh. Like last 40 hours, just like push through because this is literally the make or break moment. Like on my past like hackathons, like it was the 40-hour hackathon, it's like the last 6 hours. That's like you have to just get everything done and push it and ship it. So yeah, just do that.
Yes, agreed.
Well,
Just like a small thing I would say, like, is like, I know like the product is not gonna work. There's 10 different things breaking right now. You see the console logs, everything is not working. You saw the wallet connected, you wipe coded something, it didn't work. But I know like in the last like few hours, something just like comes in to you, and then you just like have a laser focus, and then you just like start fixing things like one by one. So don't like overthink it. You'll be able to get it. Don't think like there's like too many things to do. It's just start one by one. I'll be able to like do it. Because I remember like I think it was our Eat Global one. I think Eat Global Hackathon, and our project like didn't work the last night we went to sleep, and then we literally like slept for like 3 hours, woke up again, and then like started like working simultaneously on it, on each one of them, and I think like 2 hours before submission it worked. And I've also like submitted projects that I've literally finished like 10 minutes before submission, and then just like quickly recorded the Loom video and like submitted, and I've won the hackathons. So I'm just saying that there's like so many possibilities. Even if it might not look like, oh, it's not the best front end, it's not the best social media that I have presence I have, like just like submitted it. It's like it's gonna change. It's gonna like make your life better for us. In the sense like worst case, I feel like there's no worst case because you can use that project, go to employers and say like, hey, I built this project, I have this experience, even if it's like not fully like functional or like finished yet. They'll see the agency and they'll see like, oh, like there's this person that took the step to do it, and then like they're like taking steps. So it's like if you take the first step, like I think the world just like comes in and like helps you like take the next steps. So just like ship it.
Yeah, and the great thing about Coliseum now is that there's more of a long-term vision, and the sense that it's they're looking for teams for their accelerator. So even if the product doesn't work right at submission, if you can give a technical walkthrough and like explain your reasoning in the technical walkthrough / demo, even if something's a little bit broken, you might as well just ship it or just submit it, as Pravesh has said. And, the pitch video, you don't even have to show your product. You're pitching your business. So agreed. And I'm going to echo that. Just submit it. And, you never know.
I really appreciate you both coming on today. I'll give you kind of some last thoughts and last words from you guys. What's in the future? How is Totalis looking? What's a win for you guys in 12 months? And how can Super Team Canada help?
Honestly, 12 months is such a long time frame. Right now, we're just thinking like week to week, like what needs to be shipped next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about for now, like ideally, we'll be regularly in the States. We'll be offering a lot more products than just parlays, so like all sorts of other derivative products. But then right now, we're just trying to really get this parlay product to have the best UX, to be the best parlay product out there.
Yeah, you'd see like a lot of volume coming in. There's a lot of people like talking about us. There will be like a lot of momentum about the product, and everybody's like excited about like what's next. So that's the best feeling to have from next 12 months.
Awesome. I can't wait to see what happens with you guys. Well, we keep a close eye on you guys as well.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having us.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having us.
Good luck,
Thank you.
guys.
Good luck.
And ship it, guys. Ship it.
Just ship it.
Just ship it.
Oh, yes. Just ship it. All right. See you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Peace.